Magnus, your current third in the qualification, how was it?
Oh, it was tough. It's a fast track, so you get a little bit stressed in the skiing, but it was fun.
You're also second in the sprint overall. What is your plan today?
Just to go as far as I can and just take one race at a time.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Emilia, your current third, how was the qualification for you?
Quite good. Really a bit nervous because a lot of double bowling and it's not my best, so I'm happy. Hopefully I am in the heats.
How do you like the course here in Drammen?
Yeah, it's really good. Really much people here, and I like the city, and the church was beautiful, so I like it.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
Well, the FIS Cross-Country World Cup Sprint Circuit has brought us to one of the most beloved stages, Drammen in Norway, where the atmosphere is always electric and racing always unpredictable. Well, today's World Cup Sprint Classic finals promise exactly the kind of intensity that this venue is known for. I'm delighted to say that alongside Olympic and World Champion Kicken Randall. Kicken, glad to have you along. What makes Drammen such a significant event on the sprint calendar?
Drammen has such a great history. It has been one of the city sprints, but let's hear from one of the athletes.
It was a little bit difficult. I didn't came like really into the race, but I try to enjoy. I hope I can enjoy also in the quarterfinal, and I will make it to the quarterfinal.
How is your feeling around like your last sprint races now?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to what's coming, and but I'm also a little bit like afraid there will be a new chapter, but I really try to enjoy the last sprint.
Enjoy and good luck.
Thank you.
Ben Ogden, your current second in the qualification, how was this?
It was good, it's hard, but a good crowd here and a lot of fun, so I'm stoked.
How do you like the course here in Drammen?
Oh, I love it, it's one of my all-time favorites. I can't wait for the heats.
And what is your plan in the heats?
Oh man, well, I tried the all-out strategy a couple years ago, and I think I'm gonna have to try that one again.
Good luck today.
Thanks.
Yeah, well, that's a good strategy to have, but a couple of the athletes, Fondrich and Ogden, in the women's and men's respectively, kicking. You were saying?
Yeah, so the history here in Drammen is awesome. I mean, it goes back to the 2002 when sprinting was really just emerging, and it's been one of those iconic races every year, and it's in the middle of a city. They bring snow in through with trucks, and they dump it down, they pack it down, it races up and around the iconic church. You heard some of the athletes talk about there. So it's really fun to be competing in front of such a crowd here. They've got a stage out there with a rock band playing, and I remember skiing by that in my warm-up, and you could literally feel your heart beating out of your chest. So it's just one of those races that really gets you amped up.
Women's field, you've got to draw your attention towards Sweden at the moment. Huge powerhouse, but there are competitors all around them, whether it's Skistad in particular of Norway, who's won here before, Jessie Diggins, the overall World Cup leader as well, or indeed the likes of Jasmine Jonsu, who could perhaps cause a little upset, or maybe even Nadine Fondrich, fresh from winning silver in the team sprint at the Olympic Winter Games just a couple of weeks ago. Weather conditions around 5 degrees Celsius air temperature, snow conditions just under 0 degrees Celsius, to relatively warm conditions for the athletes today.
Yeah, it is, and that presents the course challenge for the waxers. We have, as you see the aerial view here, they're going to be really paying attention to the glide on that downhill, because there's a lot of ground that's made up off the downhill. We've seen some drafting tactics, and then of course it's a gradual uphill finish. So we're, I think we can hear some audio from Petter Northug in there talking about the course.
He's doing it right, and you can also watch some older reads from me. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So Petter Northug, an athlete who won here many times with his powerful kick finish. And of course it was Johannes Klæbo that kind of took over from Northug and really perfected an even more dramatic finish. So well, I think that's going to be a factor today.
Now, this is looking back a little earlier to heat selection. Advantage to go earlier or later?
Well, if you go in the first heat, you do preserve the most amount of rest before those semifinals, and then that would put you in the first semifinal, which means you have more rest before the final. But they often end up being more competitive, and that's kind of the way we saw this shake out. You see Sundling, who is your second fastest qualifier, choosing to be in that first heat, along with Skistad, one of her biggest rivals. And looks like Jessie Diggins picked that first heat as well. So your first heat gets the most rest, but it may be the hardest one to move on from.
This is the women's sprint classic heat selection. 5 heats in total, top 2 automatically advancing, plus the next 2 fastest qualifiers to the semi-finals. For the men as well, an opportunity to claim heat selection. Johannes Klæbo, traditionally going in the earlier heats, he's gone in heat 1 again.
He always picks the first heat. I think he's so confident in his ability to really outsmart anyone else in his heat, and he enjoys that rest. You see that he often will be a little bit more tactical in the quarterfinals, saving some energy for that final. So you see a pretty even distribution there. Ben Ogden has chosen heat number 2. That's a smart move for him. He'll still get quite a bit of rest. And then Ben Ogden, the only American making it in today, but it's really great to see Ben Ogden back on the start.
The qualifying times, Linn Svan leading the way ahead of Jonas Sundling. They finished in that order at the Olympic Winter Games in Milano Cortina. Svan ahead of Sundling. A little way down, here is Martin Pinter, the under-23 athlete from Italy, just outside the top 10 in terms of times qualifying. Most of Norwegian flags, as you might be accustomed to seeing, particularly in events in Norway. Jonsu only qualifying 21st. Melissa Gjall of France only just sneaking in as 30th quickest overall, but she's into the quarterfinals, and if you are in the race, you have a chance. She's won here previously. Hagström looking really solid this campaign. Colette Ridzek, unbelievable quality throughout the Ridzek family. Her brother Johannes as well, a very fine Nordic Combined athlete. Jonas Sundling and Linn Svan, both Olympic champions in sprint. This is going to be stacked. In terms of the men's sprint qualification, Klæbo out significantly quicker than anybody else. What is remarkable here is that he's nearly 3 seconds quicker than Ogden in qualification, but the next 70-odd athletes were separated by less than 20 seconds. So quite remarkable in terms of the times that were posted. Great result for Bernat Sees Gask of Spain inside the top 30. Elia Barp and Simone Dapra continuing their fine form from their home Olympic Games recently as well. They're both into the quarterfinals and in with a chance of advancing to the semis and perhaps even beyond. Czerny will be buoyed by qualification result. Milbach looked really solid, so too Mocellini. While his compatriot Pellegrino did not qualify. Ben Ogden, who finished silver behind Klæbo at the Olympic Winter Games in the Sprint Classic, finds himself second quickest overall, but Klæbo leading the way. His name comes up all the time, no doubt. We'll discuss him in greater detail as the men's event continues. But let's talk about Sundling versus Skistad, Kicken. It's been billed as a sort of clash of the sprint titans this past season. The recent history between them has been punctuated by some close finishes, some tactical battles, and a few public spats as well. But never mind the rivalry between Sweden and Norway. This is massive, isn't it?
It really is, and she said as a character in this story has kind of fueled that fire. She's a woman of few words, but when she does speak, I think she likes to kind of put some jabs at her Swedish competitors. So it's been a really fun rivalry.
Melissa Gjall of France, and then Norway's Mathilde Myhrvold. They were the last two to sneak into the qualification. Barbara Antosheva of Czechia, 25-year-old, finds herself going in Heat 1 as well. Now, this is where we look at contenders, genuinely. Skistad, she won here a couple of years ago on home snow, looking to do that again. Jonas Sundling, the Olympic Winter Games champion in Beijing in 2022, silver medalist in Milano Cortina. And Jessie Diggins, the overall World Cup leader, 34-year-old, who's set to retire at the end of this campaign. They go in Heat 1 in the women's sprint classic. This is where the sharp end of competition, so to speak, gets underway in Drammen. 1.2 kilometers to cover for these athletes. And they are underway. Diggins gets away a little behind Sundling, who's off to that traditionally aggressive start. And indeed, it's Skistad who looks to be leading the way in the early stages. What will we be looking for early, and how will wind play a factor in this race, Kicken?
Well, here in Drammen, they're right off of the river, and so that wind can just come whipping up this hill. And the way this course is oriented is it's kind of a long oval. They're going to come up this hill here. It pitches up, it goes up and around the church, and then you go into an equally long downhill, and there's a lot of drafting and tactics. So the athletes are going to be very tactical here about how much energy they outlay in this initial climb, making sure they get good position going into that downhill. But then they've got to turn and come back up that finish, that home stretch. So we're going to kind of be watching how the wind affects. I think they've got a tailwind right now, but as they get over the top of the hill, whoever leads is going to be breaking that wind for everybody else.
Jonas Sundling, somebody who's continued remarkable success story. Golden girl of Swedish cross-country skiing over the last few seasons, undoubtedly. Got that hack trick of successive world titles as well in 2021, 2023, and last year, 2025. in Trondheim. Finds herself alongside Skistad. Very much a powerful sprint specialist. Who's now a little off her tail. Jessie Diggins is still in the mix in the relatively early stages of this tie, coming up towards halfway in this Sprint Classic first heat of the quarterfinals.
And Sundling taking the lead there, so she often does this. She's so confident in her fitness and her ability to ski faster and with solid energy the entire round. So she takes a little bit of a lead. Skistad, though, will often let that leader get off because she's so good at gliding. And here we see her gliding right up on Diggins, taking a nice low profile there. So much happens on this downhill.
Sundling being caught. This is a real opportunity for Skistad to show what she's got. It's a tight hairpin, but they've got the ability to make up a few places with some good lines. Skistad leading the way. Sundling falling back as Diggins makes her way beyond her now as well. Skistad out in front as they pick their tracks and come up towards that finish area. Skistad has amazing power. Now watch the sprint speed on the outside. Diggins really digging in. The top two automatically qualify, and then it's down to lucky loser status if you are to advance. It's the battle of the three that were expected to be out in front. Skistad still leading the way. Diggins is putting in a really, really tough battle all the way to the line. Sundling maybe has got the finishing speed. It's going to be a very tight finish. Skistad has it just from Sundling and Diggins. Very, very tight between them. Mirvold finishes fourth, Antoshova, and then Gjall. I couldn't quite pick that. My word.
That was a little tighter than I would have expected. I mean, yeah, Diggins put up a really strong fight there, and that is too close to call.
Oh, I think it's Sundling who's just managed to get the boot across first. What a sensational sprint finish.
So you got to see there how coming up that finish stretch, because it pitches up, you have to switch from a double pole into a stride, and if you get that timing just right, it can give you the edge. But if you wait, if you try to push the double pole too long and you miss out on that stride to really be able to build momentum, that can matter for how much speed you lunge with at the line.
Sundling off to that aggressive start. She started biding her time, came back brilliantly with that burst of brilliance towards the closing stages, and then Jessie Diggins as well, fighting for that position in the closing stages. Incredibly tight between the top three.
And Dwayne, you called it. They're giving the photo finish to Sundling. But Skistad there just so, like, one thing she does so well is she has a strong double pole, but when she switches into striding, she marries the power with getting so much glide each stride.
So 0.04 of a second separating second from third. Genuine photo finish there. Move on to the second heat of the quarterfinals. Amanda Saari of Finland. Sophia Kriel of Germany. Among those in the race as well. This is Mila Grosberghagen Andreasen of Norway. Mr. Martin Pinter, 21-year-old, who's been doing remarkably well in under 23 circles and performed nicely on home snow in Milano Cortina. Coletta Ritzek of Germany. Third quickest overall in qualification. She was 2 places behind the Olympic champion Lynn Svan, the 26-year-old, who last raced this event, Classic and the Olympic Winter Games, where she took gold. There's Sophie Kriel of Germany. Now, talk about powerful sprint finishers. Lynn Svan is among the best ever. She's got remarkable speed at the finish. She'll back herself over the last 50 to 100.
Well, Lynn Svan also distributed like a great qualification. She too was 2.5 seconds ahead of the next fastest qualifier. So she is really feeling on point. She had a little illness at the Olympics after that silver medal, or after that gold medal, sorry, and was disappointed to not be able to compete on the team sprint, but she has rebounded well.
Risti Martin Pinter. Among those several successful Italian athletes who train at the Carabinieri Sports Center. Effectively the police force in Italy. Coletta Ridzek as well. She's had a fine time of things, finally got herself onto the Olympic podium as well in Milano Cortina. And she'd be delighted after that team sprint bronze. But it is Linn Svan looking to power away into a handy position in the early stages of this tie. Andreasen looks to be next best placed of the athletes, going on home snow as well, the only Norwegian in this second heat.
So as they come over the top of the hill here, they will have had the advantage of watching heat number 1 unfold, and who will take the lead going into the downhill, knowing how hard it is to be out front.
Svan taking the wider line here, going on the outside, mathematically makes it a slightly longer route, tucked into 3rd or 4th as it stands. Ridzek leading the way. Italian under-23 competitor, Martin Pinter, a little way behind her. Svan will come back at them undoubtedly. A powerful sprint finish is something to behold if you've not witnessed it recently. Certainly backs herself against the very best. Good drafting to be had.
And so much comes into play right here at the bottom before they make this big hairpin turn.
Oh, Svan's gone. It's a clash of 5, but only one is away.
Oh, man.
Krill with a recovery. That's a tight hairpin, and now the recovery is on. The Olympic champion is among those down, and Risti Martin Pinter of Italy is well and truly away. Top 2 automatically qualify. She's got a host of skiers chasing her now, and it's going to need something special to see Linn Svan get herself back into contention. She's got the ability. Has she got the line? Has she got the strength? Has she got enough room to try to make it up on Krill, who's looking to sprint away? Svan on the inside, Krill on the outside, coming up towards the line. Risti Martin Pinter is going to be taking it, but Svan is going to get there and only just ahead of Krill. Risti Martin Pinter takes it, but it's Svan who will sneak into the semi-finals despite the crash. Krill finishes 3rd, Sari then 4th, with Mirvold and with Andreasen, I beg your pardon, out of it. And then Ridzek disappointed as well, but what happened at that hairpin at the bottom?
When Svan decided to tuck in behind Ridzek on that downhill, that is a strategic move, but is also a dangerous move exactly for this reason, because all the athletes coming around this turn, they're so tightly packed. The snow itself, because this is man-made snow, it's got an icy layer underneath. There's not a whole lot of room, and the just centrifugal force, I think, carried Martin Pinter into Svan's skis a little bit, and Ridzek had nowhere to go.
So disappointment for 5 of the 6 competitors. It's Risti Martin Pinter who advances as the winner of the second heat. Linn Svan with a magnificent recovery, just showing her incredible power, but might have expended a little more energy than she might have liked to in this quarterfinal as a result of that crash.
And you saw just a differing strategy from Sundling, who took the chance, went out front, but was not so tightly packed with this group. So she's going to have to rethink her strategy going into the semifinals.
Strategy will come into play undoubtedly. A few question marks as to how the competitors might tackle this course. It's not the longest of sprint courses, at 1.2 kilometers. It is a completely different setting, and there are a few challenges, including that hairpin before that slight rise towards the finish. On to heat 3, Rosie Brennan of the United States, 37-year-old.
On the podium.
Been on the podium here before, yeah. Johanna Martintalo of Finland. When it comes to classic, never discount any Finnish competitors. Moa Ilar, she's having a wonderful time in recent years. Previously Moa Olsson, Laura Gimler. Very sharp sprinter is Laura Gimler of Germany. just outside the final the last time it was held in Drammen 2 years ago. Julie Myra. Nicole Monsorno, though, she took top 10 in 2024, but we'll be looking to reach the semi-finals at the very least here. Top 2 automatically advance. A reminder. Strong start. Straight down the center is Laura Gimler. Very good technique from Gimler. She too has been much improved in recent seasons. Been great successes for Germany, particularly in team sprint events in recent years. And the Olympic Winter Games, they've got a very long history of winning team sprint medals going back a number of years, and it's something that Germany upheld in Milano Cortina with a bronze medal after gold in 2022 in Beijing. Gimler, though, leading the way ahead of Myra. Monsorno tucked into third, and Moa Ilar is looking to fight back now in the early stages on that slight ascent.
Looks like everybody's skis are kicking pretty well today. You know, one of the challenges here in Drammen is as the organizers try to preserve the course, they don't let the athletes and the teams have a lot of time on the track beforehand. So it can be a little nerve-wracking as an athlete because your first time testing your skis might be in the quarterfinals here.
Certainly don't want that to be the case as the norm. Lizzie Brennan tucked into fourth as things stand. Myra just leading the way for now. Gimler in behind her, but tucked alongside her is Monsorno of Italy. Wonderful ambition from the Italian cross-country skiers. Home Olympic Winter Games has always been an inspiration for so many athletes, and indeed it seems to have had a profound effect on cross-country skiing in Italy. This is now a little bit of a commanding lead that Julie Myra is looking to build up ahead of Gimler.
Myra's ski speed impressive there. She did carry her momentum over the top of the track, but the others not getting quite as close to her in the draft as in the previous heats.
A little more careful around this hairpin now. This is what might happen. Things get a little too tight and a little condensed. Myra taking no chances. Gimler's going to try and fight back now. She chooses a slightly tighter line on the inside. Current lucky losers Jessie Diggins and Matilda Miervold. As things stand, Jessie Diggins lost effectively by a toenail in the first heat. Gimler and Myra not too far from one another. Oh, just a little mishap from Monsorno. Lost her a stride or two, and that might mean her chance is done.
The momentum matters so much on this final stride. We talked about that transition from double pole to finish, and there that pack came back together right in those final few meters.
Well, Gimler, I think, has managed to get there, but Ilar Monsorno very close together, tucked in behind. In fact, the top five not separated by very much at all. Myra just though ahead of Gimler. They will advance as the automatic qualifiers to the semi-finals in this third heat.
But look at that time, 2:51 the winning time. The first heat, 2:44. So right now, Jessie Diggins and Miervold look very solid as lucky losers, and that's often what you'll see in that first heat. You know, you've got some of the fastest athletes, particularly anytime you have Sundling in a heat, she presses the pace, and that means that if you're third or fourth, there's a good chance you could move through as lucky loser.
Great finish from Myra, timed it nicely. Very nicely. Gimler was leading for a little while. Monsorno and Ilar just a little bit of a tangle behind the top two. Ultimately, Norway have another success.
Gimler looked like she let off a little bit. I don't think she knew that Moa Ilar was coming quite so strong and had a good lunge, so not a ton separating those two, but Laura Gimler moves on. Let's see if she can make another appearance in the final.
This Holmen Gauntlet in Oslo just 2 days time, the 50-kilometer mass start. So there's much excitement in terms of cross-country skiing in Norway currently. not just for the Norwegian athletes competing, but indeed to have the competitions on home snow again. The sprints in Drammen, distance events in Oslo. To the penultimate heat in the quarterfinals, Ingrid Bergen Aabrecht of Norway, 23-year-old. Nadine van Dijk, 30-year-old, team sprint silver at the Milano Cortina Games alongside Nadia Kailin of Switzerland, Jasmin Kahara of Finland. The quickest qualifiers, Federica Gasol of Italy. Top 8 in qualification. She'd love to be top 6 and make her way into the final ultimately. Somebody who is top 6 currently, 6th fastest in qualifying overall, was Moa Lundgren. And then Anna Appelqvist Stenset, 31-year-old, who was not in the quarterfinals in 2024. Back in the city centre after a 1-year absence in Drammen. 4th heat to get underway. Really quick start out wide by Stenset. Real power about her sprinting ability. Federica Gasol looking to get off to an aggressive start as well, but it's a very, very confident start from Lundgren. Just a little uncertainty there for a moment from Lundgren, allowed perhaps Stenset to pick her in the tracks.
Stenset there racing in her club suit, so that just kind of denotes that she was, because this race is in Norway, Norway gets to add a few extra racers to the field. And Stenset is an athlete we've seen on the World Cup many times, but not having as strong of a season as of late.
Some of the athletes, as you say, are representing their club sides, not necessarily part of the national team setup at any given stage, but certainly capable of competing internationally. So many of the athletes. Saw just a moment ago an obstruction call against Monsorno. That was in the previous heat. She and Ilar nearly coming together in the finishing straight. Oh, so it is a second written reprimand, which means that yellow card means she will be disqualified. So Monsorno is disqualified. That'll be her final classification. Meanwhile, to the race proper here, they're 4 abreast now. Here at the front, taking the very wide line. It's Nadine van Dijk of Switzerland who looks to hit the front now, and it looks to be the correct route as well. She's taken the long way around that bend, but she's come out in front. Great power from the Swiss star.
Yeah, I think she's an athlete who knows it's dangerous to just sit in the pack, so she wanted to string things out a little bit, but with that lead position, it's really hard to hold. You can see the draft effect coming from the athletes behind, so she's gonna have to really come on strong in that final 100 meters.
Lundgren and Aabrecht both showing wonderful speed as well to make up time. Just about to say clean, but a little fall at the back. I think it's Stenset who's gone down.
No, I think it was
Stenset
Aabrecht
at the front. Aabrecht.
Stenset now coming with the power on the final stretch here.
Has to cut inside. Power as well on the outside with Lundgren, more Lundgren. Lundgren's got a little bit of work to try to catch up to the leader. Stenset is just powering her way into a very handy position here. Stenset, look at the fight back here from Gasol though. Van Dijk as well is showing some speed and spirits, and Van Dijk it'll be who will finish second behind Stenset, who pulled away. But you're right about the times kick at 2:52 for that quarterfinal as well.
Yeah, I mean, you sometimes don't see how much Jonas Sundling is drilling the pace. So it can be, you can see, it could feel pretty similar, but then when you start to see the times. So that's a lot of times why athletes will pick to go in that first heat as well. Just knowing that there's a better chance to move on as lucky loser. If you're a qualification bib, kind of back in the mid-teens or the 20s, you know, you might not be leading. It's good. It's a good strategy.
There's Ingrid Bergen Aabrecht who had that fall around the corner. disappointment on home snow for Albrecht in the sprint. Drama in Drammen around that corner.
Albrecht almost took out Finrich there. She was all over people. When you're young, it can be hard. You know, you're competing in front of a home crowd here. She doesn't have a depth of World Cup experience, and you're trying to find a way to get up there and get in the pack, and you end up a little bit frantic. So only took herself out in the end.
In the end, yeah, just breaking the pole on the ski of Kahara of Finland. Instead, they pulled away. How about the speed? After Kassel had found a little bit of speed herself, and Lundgren's got some real finishing speed. Fadrich found some form, and on that inside line, powered her way to second place in automatic qualification for the semi-finals.
I think Kassel had more speed than she was ready to balance with there, because she looked to have an edge, and then all of a sudden she got on her heels a little bit, stumbled, and that allowed Fenrich to carry the momentum past her and be the next automatic qualifier.
So Norway and Switzerland advance to the semi-finals. Speaking of Norway, Iselin Bjørgvik Drivenes, 20-year-old, enjoying a first World Cup start after some great success in the junior circuit. She won sprint silver at the World Championships a few days ago. Jasmi Joensuu of Finland, 27-year-old, very fine sprint star, real power from her. Anja Weber of Switzerland, 12th overall currently in the sprint standings, 10th fastest overall in qualifying. Number 23 athlete from Norway, the 21-year-old Helen Erkheim Haugen. And Johanna Hagström, 4th fastest in qualifying. She went 2:47. And Maja Dahlqvist, she wears the red shirt as the overall leader for sprints. Currently, the Swedish star Maja Dahlqvist, 32 next month, but showing no signs of slowing down. Now, this is potentially the heat that could see a lucky loser emerge from as well, given the youthful exuberance of a few of these athletes, and indeed the speed, power and tactical ability of some of them around them, including Hagström, Joensuu and Dahlqvist. So this is a mixed bag of anybody's guess as to how this race is going to be run, but currently it's Anja Weber of Switzerland who looks to be leading the way.
And Weber might be one of those athletes who senses she only qualified mid-pack, and she's in a star-studded field. So she's going to give herself the best chance to move on. Pushing the pace early and trying to go for a fast heat time could ensure lucky losers come out of this heat.
Now, how is Maja Dahlqvist going to play this race as well? She was among those competitors who entered the Beijing Games in 2022 in the form of her life, and she just couldn't halt Jonas Sundling's charge. But did take silver and then took bronze in 2026 as well. She's got Johanna Hagström, who's looking very comfortable as things stand. Looking good as well is Hagen of Norway, taking the wider line again. But Dahlqvist is wily tactically and will be very difficult to marshal in the closing stages. Weber still in the mix as well. Still anybody's guess, effectively halfway through this race.
You see a mixture of veteran experience here. Dahlqvist has been in so many heats. She knows she's a strong finisher, so she will sit mid-pack, try to use this draft. The one that seems to be struggling at this point is Joensuu. She didn't look like she had the strongest kick up those climbs, so she needs to get herself back off this draft.
That's for Joensuu of Finland. She's got all the ability. Doesn't quite have the downhill speed. Here comes Weber around the inside. Just finds her way past Hagen now, coming down towards this little hairpin that has caused problems in previous quarterfinals. All safely negotiated. Dahlqvist goes rather wide though and finds herself tucked in behind Hagström now. But this is where it'll matter in the closing stages. Is there some sensational finishing speed to come? Watch the time as well, because Diggins and Mirvold, 2:44 and 2:45, are the current lucky losers. So the top 2 places will automatically guarantee you a place in the semi-finals, and it looks to be Hagström who's going to be battling against Dahlqvist in the closing stages. Weber pushing, poling, not able to make up any ground on the 2 Swedish stars ahead of her. Dahlqvist coming back very strongly. It'll be Sweden 1-2. And 2:47 the time again for Hagström and Dahlqvist. Weber third, and she will not advance as a lucky loser. Tactical race.
Closest heat we've seen to the time of that first heat, but still 3 seconds slower. So I think Weber made the play she had to, didn't quite have it all the way at the end. Hagström looks incredibly strong to me. She just looks powerful. She looks, her tempo looks relaxed yet punchy. So I think she's one to watch today.
Somewhat surprisingly though, Jasmi Junsu of Finland really nowhere to be found in this heat. Weber did push the pace. Hagen looked to take it as well to some of the more experienced competitors. But Hagström and Dahlqvist ultimately finding their way across the finish line first and second. Hagström has splendid sprint speed and that sensational Swedish pedigree behind her as well. Dahlqvist never to be underestimated, so tactically astute, and wears that red jersey as overall sprint leader currently for a reason. Hagström ahead of Dahlqvist. Weber will not qualify as a lucky loser. So let's confirm. These are the semi-finals for you. Svan Sundling, Skistad Myhre, De Martin Pinter Mirvold, Hagström, Gimle Stenset, Dahlqvist, Diggens, Vandrich. What stands out for you?
Well, I think we knew that Sweden would pack those semifinals, but it's great to see De Martin Pinter in there. I think she skied us really strong, smart quarterfinal. Jessie Diggins also looked really strong to me. We haven't seen kind of that power from her on the final 100 meters, so great to see her get another shot here in the semifinals. But I think it stacks up really well. You've got a nice even distribution of some of the top names between semifinal 1 and semifinal 2.
Let's go to the men's now. Quarterfinals, the start list of Heat 1. Vili Ciro of Slovenia. He was 30th fastest qualifier. Now, Bernard Seesgask, who celebrated his 23rd birthday in Italy during Milano Cortina 2026. 29th overall, and Ludek Sela of Czechia, the 30-year-old, 28th overall. These were the last 3 to get themselves into the quarterfinals, but they're up against some real contenders, and indeed the man that would be champion-elect. Theo Shelley of France is next to go, but alongside him is the man who is king of cross-country skiing currently, and the most successful World Cup skier of all time, a man who won 6 out of 6 at the Olympic Winter Games last month, and last year at the World Championships, 6 out of 6 as well. Anton Grahn of Sweden, 10th fastest overall in qualifying. Now, Klæbo traditionally goes out early, likes to enjoy, as you mentioned a little earlier, a little more rest time between the quarterfinals and semi-finals. So getting away. The question is, where does Klæbo go? He doesn't traditionally enjoy leading, but when the pace is a little down or not to his liking, he can completely take control, and he is very much a commanding racer.
And once again has the fastest reaction time off the start. We saw him last week in Lahti, the only athlete to respond under 0.3 of a second. And here he has 0.25. So just his reflexes are just quick and on point. He's now in a heat with a lot of guys who we don't normally see mixing it up on the World Cup. So as a veteran, I think he's gonna want to be a little bit careful and not put himself in a position like Svan did, where you end up in the pack with a bunch of people that are frantically trying to move up.
The other aspect to consider, though, is for the athletes around him, the likes of Grahn, Shelley, Sela, Seesgask and Ciro, an opportunity to potentially get dragged along. If they can clamp on his tails for a little while, maybe there's a chance of qualifying as a lucky loser, even if you don't advance as one of the top 2 from this race.
Well, he was clearing away the fastest qualifier, but it doesn't look to me like he's pushing the pace too much. He's letting others really control the pace up front.
Well, when you've got the finishing kick of Johannes Husflot-Klæbo, you can afford to even stand up around the bend and catch your breath a little. That is your whim. Theo Shelley leading the way. The French star, Anton Grahn, looking to back a little here as well. He's currently in 4th. Klæbo now hits the front. Looking good for Ciro of Slovenia. Shelley will come back at him.
Slovenian there made a smart move and followed Klæbo around the outside, which actually gave him the inside as they entered that final downhill straight.
And taking the lead into that corner, Ciro. A brave, bold move, but the brilliance of Klæbo is behind him. Klæbo recognises top 2 is good enough, but he doesn't like to finish second in any situation, does Klæbo? Be looking to lead the way. He has been absolutely dominant in sprint finishes over the years. He's got more sprint victories on the World Cup than any other male cross-country skier has overall victories in World Cup, never mind his successes at World Championships and indeed at the Olympic Winter Games as well. The most successful Winter Olympian of all time stands up and crosses the finish line. Grahn with a great finish. I think it's just Pip Shelley, and Ciro fades to 4th.
That was textbook skiing from Johannes Klæbo, although a little closer having athletes there off the final turn, but he did a great job of just picking the right lines to put himself in the position that he needed to be.
This is the thing, I mean, he could do this course at 2:20, but he's just gone 2:37. So not really needing to do much more than was required, not wanting to expend too much energy as well.
See, he got knocked a little bit there with the pole from Slovenian athlete.
Catch me if you can. Grahn just manages to hold on from Shelley, who was fighting back.
They played around with the pitch of this finish stretch, and there were points when they just really kicked it up right at the end to the point where it was really hard to time your lunge, because if you timed it too soon, you actually slid backwards, even if you were carrying momentum over. So it looks like they kind of went with a middle ground on this finish this year, and it's because they construct this course every year. You know, you've got the street underneath, but when you bring in man-made snow like that, you can have all sorts of different shapes and forms.
Under 23 athlete from Sweden, Erik Johansson, goes in the second heat. Lauri Vuoren, the 31-year-old from Finland, very, very good classic technique skier. Evan Nortug, his brother Petter, perhaps a little more familiar to many, but somebody who's been on the podium before in Drammen. There's Aron Akre-Ristad. There are at least 2 Norwegians in every one of the quarterfinals, bar the first. Ben Ogden, silver medalist at the last Olympic Winter Games. Tremendous success, 2 silvers in total, team sprint and individual sprint successes. Simone Mocellini of Italy, he was 3rd quickest in qualifying. Kicking Ogden 2nd, Mocellini 3rd fastest in qualifying. Ristad can be quick as well, the young Norwegian. Evan Nortug as well, the experienced Norwegian. This is another stacked race.
It really is, and you have athletes who like to go fast. So whether or not they decide to go out and set the pace, Ben said he's done that before, where he goes kind of all out from the gun and really just tries to stretch the race out from the beginning. But that's very costly energy-wise. And I think the smart move he made in the Olympics to win that silver medal is he actually showed a little bit of reserve in the quarterfinals, semifinals, and man, did he need that energy in the final, but it paid off.
Yeah, absolutely right. You kind of go with what you feel, I suspect, for some of these athletes, and Ogden strikes me very much as an athlete who does go with what he feels, but he's high on confidence, huge successes in recent times, not just for those double silvers in the Olympic Winter Games, which makes him the most successful American male of all time in cross-country skiing at the Olympic Winter Games, but Ogden now, alongside Mocellini, the 2 out in front in the early stages. Ristad Nortug, definitely two to watch as well. And don't discount Lauri Vuorinen. Anything in classic style, and he's got to be a contender.
This Drammen course is such a problem to solve when you're an athlete, because there's a lot of different ways you can do it, and of course every other athlete in your heat is also trying to tactically solve the program in different ways. So you can have a plan, but you really have to be ready to react in the moment and look for those opportunities to move through wherever you can.
Somebody you want to be moving past would be either Ogden or Muccellini. Muccellini showing some real speed. Ogden, though, is coming back nicely. He's topping out at over 50 kilometers an hour coming back. He's gone from 4th to 2nd in relatively quick time. But this is the tricky sticking point. You want to be leading, it seems, and not tucked up in a bunch. Muccellini's gone down, and that's going to be costly for the Italian. Around the outside, he was leading the way, and maybe just glancing a little over his shoulder. Lost his line, lost his footing, and lost his chance as well. Ogden is now having to fight back. It's a real race here. Ristad is leading the way for Norway. Ristad out wide. He's picked his line. Evan Northug ahead of him, and Beng Ogden is showing real strength to come back at Northug. He's not going to make up ground, I think, on Ristad, who's leading the way, but he is going past Northug, who switches to single arm, and Ogden looks to have taken it just ahead of Northug. Ristad, though, has won it and automatically qualifies. Vuorinen and Johansson next. Muccellini, after the fall, goes down. That's a much faster heat, which means Northug will certainly be in with a lucky loser chance of advancing to the semis.
That was an incredible final 50 meters from Ben Ogden, and that is the difference that he has made this season that I think has allowed him to really be a medal contender in these finals. He's always been quick off the gun. He's been really strong in the fast uphills. We see Muccellini just had so much momentum off that turn. He just got into his tails a little bit. And that was a really good reaction from Ben Ogden there to not get taken down. It did slow down his momentum a little bit, but he built it back right here in this double pole. He just kept that motor churning and passed Northug, which is very impressive.
Very impressive indeed. And the double poling was exceptional. Northug and Vuorinen both getting dragged along as well by the speed of Ristad out in front. And Ogden pulling them along. The hand speed from Ogden. So Ristad ahead of Ogden. As things stand, Northug and Vuorinen have moved into the lucky loser positions, the next two fastest outside of the automatic qualifiers to potentially advance to the semi-finals. We're into the quarterfinals of the men's sprint classic in Drammen as part of the Coop FIS Cross-Country World Cup. It's the penultimate sprint event of the season, the very last to come in Lake Placid in a little over a week. And the athletes head to the United States of America. Simone Dapra of Italy, first athlete to be introduced in quarterfinal number 3. The Italian is Harald Astrup Arnesen, 30-year-old from Norway. Another Norwegian, 5 years is junior, Oscar Evensen, just outside the final in 2024. Alvar Milbach was really quick in qualifying. He had a few concerns in Milano Cortina, not 100% health-wise. He showed moments of promise. Emil Liekari of Finland, he was top 10 in qualifying. And Jan Stulben of Germany. Evensen at the ready. He and Arnesen representing Norway on home snow here, but Milbach of Sweden would love to get one over Norway. Milbach will be looking to dictate as this race comes to its conclusion. And Norway it is looking to lead in the early stages of this tie. Liekari, though, is keeping pace with Evensen.
Well, and as we watch Milbach, we'll look at his skis. He appears to be on skate skis, and he is a double pole machine. We saw him start off the season in Ruka and then Trondheim. In the Trondheim Classic World Cup Sprint, he was the only athlete to double pole, and he finished on the podium, 3rd place. So we didn't see him as strong at the Olympics. Oh, it looks like he is striding a little bit there, but I think they might have some classic zones out there. But watch for him to come gliding through. He's such a strong double poler.
Yeah, he's come on tremendously. It's wonderful to see some of the under-23 talent coming out of Sweden, in the men's in particular, given the dominance of the Swedish women. Edvin Unger and Albin Milbach among those who've certainly stuck their hand up in under-23 seasons in recent times. Unger largely the dominant, but Milbach is fighting his way to the front. Speaking of the front, Liekari is leading at the moment. The Finnish star is well and away from Evensen. It's not an unassailable lead, but it's a very handy lead for the Finnish athlete. This is where some of the athletes will find a little speed as well. So, Evan Nortug, just to confirm, he's picked up another yellow card, which means he will be disqualified. So, already on a yellow card, Evan Nortug. He was one of the lucky losers. Coming around the sharp bend here, it's a good, strong turn from Liekari. Everybody stays on their skis. There's confirmation that Nortug has been disqualified, and he falls out of lucky loser contention. Lori Vuoren currently in the best position at a 2:36. Effectively, or 2:35, the time to beat. Coming up towards the finishing straight here, it's still anybody's race. This is wide open. Liekari has been reeled in now, and it's the power of Milbach on the outside. Milbach's going to take control of the situation, but watch out as well for Evensen, who's looking really good on the inside. Switching tracks now. Arnesen looks to come back. Milbach for Sweden just manages to take it, I think, ahead of Evensen, and then Arnesen. Tapra of Italy a little way back. Stulben 5th, and Liekari leading with a few hundred meters to go, fades to 6th.
It just goes to show you how much energy management on this course matters. You have to have the energy in this last 50 meters. So much changes right there. The course pitches up a little bit, and that looks to be one of our fastest heats thus far.
So, really strong. Liekari led out relatively quickly, lost it in the closing stages, decelerating. All the others around him were accelerating past him. Milbach with a smart race, a safe race, although as I say that, he looked a little off balance going around that and hairpin.
Well, when you try to come from the back, when you try to come from the back like that, though, you have to have the open windows to be able to come through. And he was lucky that as they came off of that final turn, everybody kind of shifted a little bit over to the left and left that inside lane for him to just come charging up and that open snow. But if someone had closed the door on him, he would have had to react, and then there might not have been a space to get through.
Moving to the time, Arnesen and Dampra are the two who find themselves as potentially qualifying through 3 heats. There's still 2 heats to come in the men's quarterfinals. All the added drama of the men's sprint classic.
Well, I think some drama today, some as much as there are some names in this field that did qualify, there were some big names that did not qualify. Federico Pellegrino was out. Benny Mosier, who's been on the podium recently, was out, as were some of the American athletes who we thought that might be in, including JC Schoonmaker, who was here, made a final appearance here in 2024.
Simon Mira of Norway, Marcus Grata of Sweden, Davide Graz of Italy, compatriot of, as you say, Federico Pellegrino, who did not qualify. Jules Chapaz of France, 8th overall in qualifying. Very capable of making the podium is Chapaz. This is a man who's capable of making the podium as well. He's just turned 21, Ježíš, but he made the final in Milano Cortina, finished 5th overall after being 4th fastest in qualifying. Remarkable sprint successes in recent times. Harald Ostberg Amundsen of Norway, though, always dangerous 14th quickest overall in qualifying. Did what he needed to, but this is his chance to step up and show his capabilities if he is to advance to the semi-finals. This is the penultimate heat in the quarterfinals. That's the away from the Italian, Davide Graz. He's the only athlete on a yellow card in this heat. Jiří Tuš wanting to get away well, but is a little way behind Chapaz of France as things go. Great reaction time from Amundsen of Norway, Grate as well of Sweden. Watch out for Jiří Tuš. He's got a very bright future ahead of him, it seems. He enjoys classic as well. So many of the younger skiers have showed more success in freestyle technique, but Jiří Tuš showed some real abilities in classic, and it's his technical abilities that have allowed him to turn a few heads. Leading the way at the moment, though, is Amundsen of Norway, a little more experience. He and Graz alongside one another. They had very similar times in qualifying. In fact, they only finished 1/100th of a second apart in qualifying.
Well, and Amundsen and Graz are both athletes who can do well in distance skiing as well, and they're up against some sprinters like Jules Chapaz and Marcus Grate. So I think they want to push the pace here and try and tire everyone out, but that could be good news for lucky losers coming from this heat as well.
Watch out for Jules Chapaz, a man who has spoken about. This is where Tuš might come back into it. Jiří Tuš, that's about the fastest we've seen of anybody going down this little descent, but he's still got a little bit of ground to make up here, the Czech youngster. And then in towards that hairpin. Tight together. Oh, just losing a little bit, managing to stay on his skis around the outside. There was Grate of Sweden, finds himself now at the back. Amundsen looking to lead the way, Graz just behind him. And Chapaz and Tuš looking for fast finishes as well. This is teed up very nicely. It's a little break up towards the line. Genuine speed from Amundsen out in front. Chapaz has gone past Graz. He will claim the automatic qualifying spot, and it's going to be Graz and Tuš who earn lucky loser places.
Fastest heat so far. Amundsen drilling it almost the entire time. You know, he's second in the overall right now. So it just, I think, impressive to see that he still has a lot of energy at this point in the season. They've been racing week in and week out for a couple months now, but very, very commanding there, and a really strong double pole. Chapaz, we knew that he would have a good final 100 meters. He played it kind of smart in the beginning, but.
I need to ask you this, just on a related note, Kiki. I mean, in an Olympic year, does it make it all the more difficult to return after trying to peak at an Olympic Winter Games?
I mean, there's so many different situations coming in for some of these athletes that had to really show strong performance in the beginning of the season just to make their own team. I think you see some more dramatic changes in energy towards the end of the season, but for some of these athletes that chose to peak at the games, by the last 3 weekends of World Cup, you're definitely kind of running on fumes, but if you've done a really solid block of training, and of course it's not just the season of the Olympics too, it's the preparation you've done in the 4 seasons leading into it. And Amundsen, we know, is a guy that trains big hours. He's very versatile. So I think he, if anything, is maybe sharpening performance a little bit in this last period of World Cup.
Amundsen and Chapaz, the two to qualify from Heat 4. Jiří Tuš and Davide Graz find themselves sitting in the lucky losers positions for now. The very last of the heats, 6 athletes who go, 2 of them from Norway. And Lucas Chanava of France is among those who stand out. Kolerud and Czerny, both very quick as well. Elia Barp, the 23-year-old Venetian, delighted to have him back and competing after that heart arrhythmia that required surgery last year. Noah Neuf of Switzerland and his younger brother both competing here in Drammen. His younger brother having not advanced to the quarterfinals. Jørgen Schulberg of Norway, 23-year-old, 16th fastest in qualifying. Christian Kollerud, though, a 21-year-old, in his first World Cup start, showed incredible ability to finish 6th overall in terms of qualifying speed for the qualification round, which saw him into the quarterfinals very comfortably. Ondrej Černý of Czechia. This is set to be his last race. And Chanava of France. How impressive have French cross-country skiers been in recent times. Mathis Delorge will take many of the plaudits. The entire cross-country skiing fraternity in France must be applauded for their incredible improvements in recent years. Getting away well for Ondrej Černý, an opportunity to say goodbye on a high. How will he go? He was 5th fastest in qualifying. It's an early start here, and it looks to be Knife of Switzerland who's leading the way in the early stages.
Already this heat looks a little bit more tactical. By the time you get to the 5th quarterfinal, they will have had the chance to watch the other heats play out. You've got a mix of bib numbers here, a couple of fast qualifiers, a couple kind of mid-packs. So knowing you've got guys like Chanava in there, though, you don't want to be too tactical because he's got a mean final stretch.
Certainly does. Chanava, who claimed that World Cup sprint gold in Davos in December. He's not one to be underestimated. He's a man that only a few months ago, bear in mind, was barely able to walk after his broken tibia. He's come back tremendously. On the inside, though, Černý is showing some speed. Well, he would love to make the semi-finals here. Top 2 will automatically advance, but you need to beat 2:29.9. That's David Agrad's time. And at the moment, as you say, I don't think this is going to be a race in which we'll see a lucky loser. So I think Tush and Graz are fairly comfortable in terms of making it as lucky losers into the semi-finals. You need to finish top 2 in this race to qualify. This is where we might see some speed. Černý stands up. Far more tactical, this race.
Speed a whole 10 kilometers an hour slower than we saw in the last heat there.
With them all grouped together, it usually signals the speed is down, but it also means going around tight hairpins could be problematic. Somehow safely negotiated by all of the skiers. And now the sprint might be on. They've conserved energy effectively throughout this entire race, and Knife of Switzerland is leading the way. Don't worry about the lucky losers' times. Those are safe. Graz and Tuj will have advanced. It's about finishing top 2 now. Černý, can he do it? Fighting hard. Alongside him, Kollerud, though, is coming back. He's showing wonderful speed, is Kollerud. Černý.
Here comes Chanava
with a real finishing speed here, but he's left a little too late. It's going to be Knife of Switzerland who takes it ahead of Kollerud. Schulberg and Chanava is out of it. Černý and Barb finish 5th and 6th. It's a late gamble and a very tactical race, and it's not paid off for among the favorites. Instead, Swiss star Noah Knife takes the top spot in the final heat.
That was the slowest heat by far, the only heat over 40 seconds, or 2:40.
Nobody really taking charge of this race. In the closing stages is where things started to heat up.
Neff, though, pulled back into the lead with a stride there while Kollerud was still working the double pole.
He was, but that celebration was absolutely immediate from Christian Kollerud.
Wow, to be a 21-year-old here in Norway in front of your home crowd. I mean, again, the history here in Drammen. likely Collerud came to this as a kid to watch, and now he's here competing, kind of an unknown, and so you got to think a lot of emotion is wrapped up in that.
Confirming the semi-finals then, Klabo, Ogden, Milbach, Tush, Gran, Ristad, Collerud, Chapaz, Graz, Amundsen, Evansen and Neuf. 5 Norwegians will be skiing at home, looking for places in the final. In Drammen, semi-final time in the women's race. First of the semi-finals. It's going to be a big one with Svan and Sundling in the same race as Skistad, Mira and Mirvold, with Iris Di Martin Pinter of Italy, the only non-athlete from either Sweden or Norway. Jonna Sundling, former Olympic champion. Very, very sharp race to come. 2 incredibly stacked semi-finals back-to-back for you. Yuri Mira.
Take your start positions.
Chance for Skistad on home snow. A former winner here. She is looking to get off to a rampant start and indeed roars out into the front. Sundling had the fastest reaction time and a very aggressive start, but looked to have just a little slip of sorts. Lost her footing slightly, but you've got 2 Olympic champions racing. The 2022 champion in Beijing, Sundling, and the 2026 champion in Milano Cortina, Linn Svan, up against Skistad, who is undoubtedly the home favorite here, Kicken.
Well, Svan and Sundling certainly come in with the biggest accolades here, but the one spoiler that has really ruined their show over the last years is Skistad. And the way she is skied in that quarterfinal, we know that she is on form today. She has got the skis and the glide. And so the problem that now Sundling and Svan have to solve is how can they get away, either get away or kind of put her at bay on that last 100 meters.
Sweden find themselves with 2. Sundling and Skistad not side by side. Instead, it's Svan and Skistad who are side by side. The Swedish star on the left of your screen. Svan wearing bib number 1 and bib number 5 is Skistad of Norway. Mira is tucked into 3rd as things stand, and Iris Di Martin Pinter of Italy into 4th. Sundling is at the moment 5th overall. She finds herself near the back, alongside Matilda Mirvold, who was only the penultimate qualifier for the quarterfinals. So this is turning out to be a rather tactical race again as well. All bunched together, all standing up. Speed not quite there, but we might see it come the downhill sections, particularly from Svan.
You never see Skistad lead into a downhill. She loves being able to use the draft to come out of it. But right now, it's like Mirvold is taking advantage of that. Or no, not Mirvold, the Julie Mir.
So, Sundling is coming back a little. This is why things might get a little tricky. Sundling's going very wide. Svan takes in the early line. Safely negotiated again. Svan now has some real power in the closing meters. Skistad is 2nd and Sundling is coming back at her. Bear in mind that great finish at the World Championships between Sundling and Skistad, where on home snow in Trondheim at the Worlds in 2025, Sundling managed to pip Skistad. It's a result that Skistad says still haunts her. Svan has been overtaken. Has she got the speed to pull it back in, though? Sundling and Skistad are pulling away. Iris Di Martin Pinter looks to be closest. Svan coming back at them now.
And this is important.
It's a real push.
Because it might matter who the top 2 are on this. They were casual over the top of the hill, and that second semifinal is going to know that and going to push the pace, and you may not see lucky losers come from this semifinal.
Well, the Olympic champion has only just managed to pip Iris Di Martin Pinter. I think it's Sundling who's got herself 2nd behind Skistad. How close is this? The top two, Skistad was definitely ahead of Sundling, but then third is Svan, and the Olympic champion might not advance to the final. Do have a second semi-final to come. A good win for Skistad. She's got one race to come, and that'll be the final.
Looks like they're giving Lynn Svan a yellow card for a technique infraction.
That'll be problematic for Lynn Svan. Not having a yellow card coming into this means won't see her disqualified, but just behind Sundling. Skistad takes in the applause. Skistad ahead of Sundling, Svan and Di Martin Pinter. Chances of qualifying. Mira and Mirvold out of it at the semi-final stage. Overall World Cup leader is Jessie Diggins of United States. Four-time Olympic medalist. Maja Dahlqvist. Overall sprint leader currently, Nadine Vandrich from Switzerland. Looking to get back to her sprint best. Anna Appelqvist-Stenset into the top 12 already in Drammen, having finished 14th last time out. Johanna Hagström of Sweden looking to maintain that Swedish dominance. See if she can advance with Dahlqvist. Lara Gimler of Germany also in the mix and in the hunt. Through the city centre of Drammen, we're around 40 kilometers southwest of Oslo, the capital. Judging by the aggression of this start, maybe this is going to be a little more of a pacey race. Jessie Diggins, though, has not got off to the best of starts. You know she's going to be giving everything out on the course. As you may well know, Kicken Randall, having secured gold at the Olympic Winter Games 8 years ago alongside Jessie Diggins.
Yes, the nice thing that Jessie Diggins has is she has also raced this Drammen course many times. And so she knows well how the tactics play out. And if she can just keep herself right in this position, all she's got to do is keep good contact up this first climb, because so much happens over the second half of this race.
Incredible athlete, Diggins, is set to retire at the end of this season. Over 200 podiums in nearly 400 starts. No other athlete with more starts in World Cup races over the years. Leading the way, Hagström, a powerful athlete who's looking to use that power in the closing stages, you would imagine. Sweden, it's Stenset who's looking to be a Norwegian thorn in the side. Maja Dahlqvist is currently right at the back of this group. She and Jessie Diggins, so they might be biding their time a little and maybe look to push through the second half of the race and closer to the finish. But Stenset tucked in behind Hagström currently.
This heat number 2 got the message. They are Hagström pushing the pace from the front, so you know now that this pace for the overall time of this heat is likely going to be a lot quicker than semifinal number 1. So all of these racers have to keep themselves in the hunt, because there's very likely 4 athletes qualifying onto the final from this semifinal.
Absolutely correct. And what that would mean in reality is that the Olympic champion is going to be out effectively. She finished 3rd for a classical technique infraction. She's picked up a yellow card. She didn't have a yellow coming into this, so she's fine for now. Dahlqvist is some way off the back here. Diggins is back in the mix, though. Gimler looks to fight her way in, and Hagström has been passed by a couple, including Stenset. 5 separate tracks now. They're going to have to cut to the inside and make their way up towards the finish line, and it's Gimler trying to hop tracks.
And Hagström's blocked out there. She hoped to get the inside line, but Gimler kind of closed the door, and Hagström now has nowhere to go.
Hagström has got herself in serious trouble. Jessie Diggins is looking to close down. She's going on the far right of your screen. Jessie Diggins coming back. Hagström is coming back as well, but as things stand, it looks to be a really strong sprint from Vandrich. She and Gimler are going to take it. Vandrich and Gimler ahead of Hagström and Stenset. Diggins finishes 5th and Dahlqvist 6th. That Swedish domination has not come to fruition in Drammen. Gimler and Vandrich.
So remember, Hagström and Stenset leading early, powered over the top of that hill, had put a little bit of distance on the competitors, but it just goes to show you how powerful that draft is. Jessie Diggins came back in the mix, and really Gimler and Fenrich moved up off the downhill.
That will mean, though, that Hagström and Stenset will move into the final based on their times. You're right, I mean, tactically, this was just a completely different race to the first semi-final. No more effective for those in the front, though. Vandrich, wonderful finish. She and Gimler very close. Great lunge from Gimler. Hagström only 3rd, and then 4th for Stenset. Look to be the top 2. Diggins finishes 5th.
Well, and that's a big result for Fenrich. She's currently sitting 3rd in the overall sprint standings, just trailing Hagström by 5 points. So Hagström will move on to the final as well. So they'll be battling it out, but both of them will gain valuable points on Dahlqvist, who's your current leader. She only had a 45-point cushion going into today. This is the course second to last sprint, and then we'll have one final sprint in Lake Placid, and that overall sprint cup could come down to the last race.
To the men we go. It's semi-final time in Johannes Huslot Klæbo. He is looking for a remarkable 150th podium place today. Yusitush of Czechia, though, the 21-year-old who made the final against many expectations in Milano Cortina, finds himself racing for a place in the final here in Drammen. Anton Gran of Sweden alongside him. Aron Akre Ristad of Norway. Much ambition, but the slowest of the qualifiers overall in this semi-final, Alvar Mielbach. He was 4th in qualifying. Alongside him, though, a man who won 6 golds at the last World Championships, 6 golds at the last Olympic Winter Games. He is the most commanding cross-country skier of all time. And then Ben Ogden, the only man who could look to keep pace with Klæbo in the sprint at Milano Cortina, as he secured the first of his 2 silvers in this event in northern Italy last month. He's broken every record in cross-country skiing, Johannes Huslot Klæbo, and he's still in his 20s. Most successful Winter Olympian of all time. Getting away, Mielbach will have some ambition about this, but the Norwegians on home snow will not want to be upset and will likely take no chances either. Klæbo and Ogden are side by side, and Ristad showing some ambition as well in the early stages of this race. What to expect here, Kicken?
Well, we have a mix of the experience and some newcomers here. With, of course, we've got Ben Ogden up front. Let's see if he can show some restraint like he did in the quarterfinal, just keeping himself in a good position. But you've got Mielbach, who there is looking to, remember, he's got that strong final 100 meters, and it does look like he is on skate skis. He's doing the striding there because they have a classic technique zone where you have to show that you're not just double pulling. So he's just kind of making it through there, but has got the big glide off the downhill. So all he's got to do is keep himself close. But Klæbo going to the outside here because he knows he likes that outside line going into the downhill. That's how he moved up into the front in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, he certainly enjoys taking the fresher snow, as it were, as well. But Klæbo is also incredibly able to dictate tempos of races. Doesn't often lead races, but likes to suggest what the pace might be. Ben Ogden, though, has showed tremendous ability to improve. He's matured wonderfully. He was, if you go back 4 seasons, he was 30th overall in the sprint, and there's a problem behind. It looks like Ogden has gone down.
Oh, no.
And now, who to recover? This is a massive problem.
Skis are off, and Klæbo is down.
The race continues. At the front, it's Khan who's leading the way, and it's Tuj in behind him. But Klæbo is down, Ogden is down. Ogden back on his feet, though, and everybody looking over their shoulders as to what's gone behind them. There is genuine silence and a massive hush all around this venue, because the man that was expected to romp to victory, Johannes Husflot Klæbo, has gone down. And Sweden's Anton Grahn, just to rub salt in the proverbial wound, he was leading the way toward the line, and Jiří Tuž will make the final as well, automatically qualifying. Grahn and Tuž. Well, it's a thumbs up, and it's also not the way you want to see races finishing. Milbach finishes 3rd. Klæbo back on his feet, skis are off, but that will hurt. Not so much the physical aspect.
We've talked many times about how you never see Johannes Klæbo fall. He just seems to have this magical ability to avoid trouble. But the way that pack came around that turn, he stayed tight to the inside, which was his window to get through, but that left him susceptible. And when you have athletes trying to turn, skis get knocked, and he had nowhere to go. So he knocked Ben's ski, and then, oh, and that's a bad slam. Oh, and looks like he got kicked in the head with the other ski. You don't see that much carnage in cross-country skiing very often.
No, you certainly don't. Clear contact. Milbach also went down very awkwardly, but was able to recover. But this is one of those moments that can stir up quite a mix of feelings. It just reminds us, though, that even the greatest aren't immune to setbacks, bad luck, or simply being human. Klæbo will march away, not with the victory that he would have hoped for and desired. A man with 149 podiums and 120 World Cup wins was looking for that magical milestone of 150 podiums here. He won't get a chance. He and Ogden do not finish, and they finished top 2 at the Olympic Winter Games in this event. Grahn and Tuž qualify automatically. Milbach and Ristad might be lucky losers, but based on the outcome of that race, you'd have to suspect top 4 from this race, should the skiers stay on their skis, will advance. So, Davide Graz of Italy, Ansgar Evensen of Norway, Noah Neuf of Switzerland, who was the slowest in the qualification of all the semi-finalists. Jules Chapaz of France. He's loving life at the moment. A couple of years ago, he wanted to quit the sport and never return. Remarkable turnaround for him. Harald Østberg Amundsen. He is a quality all-round skier, looking to prove his sprint credentials here. And Christian Kollerud, in his very first World Cup start, well, he won't remember the yellow card that he's earned, but he will remember if he makes the final in his first World Cup start.
Go to start position. Set.
Getting away, 3 from Norway, Evensen, Amundsen and Kollerud. Among them, though, is Jules Chapaz of France. I mentioned that he wanted to walk away. I mean, after 2025, he was talking about nothing was working. I just couldn't do anything right. I felt horrible physically and mentally. And here he is, just over a year later, saying that he's enjoying a much better life balance and taking more rest days, and he's reinvigorated himself, and he's hoping that that will lead to success, and now might be his chance. And he's up against the Norwegian horde in 3 around him.
I think Amundsen has had some of those similar thoughts as well after just dominating a couple seasons ago. Last year with the Home World Championships in Trondheim, he didn't have the performances he wanted to. This year, you know, missed out on some relay starts, but finding good form here. And these guys have to know that they want to keep this heat fast. If they play games, that's going to open the door for Milbach and Ristad to move through as lucky losers. But it looks like the pace is pretty strong at this point.
Yeah, Harald Østberg Amundsen, let's not forget, he was 2024 overall World Cup champion. He was the only man who's been able to upset Klæbo in recent years in terms of overall World Cup success. Klæbo has already claimed the overall title at this World Cup. He will claim the sprint title as well, given Hagen's result. That is Amundsen looking to lead, but from France, watch out for flying Jules Chapaz. David Gratz is right at the back here. It's not where he usually likes to be. So he's got some work to do, the Italian, with some ambition. Kollerud has got this youthful vibrance and ambition. And might just look to prove it here. Given the falls in the first semi-final, the top 4 will qualify, barring any incident leading up to the finish line here. And all of these 6 skiers know that.
And Kollerud better hopes that Chapaz keeps the pace on, because he has no space to go, and he's got other athletes to the left and right. But it looks like Chapaz is going to power all the way through. The time is fast.
Kollerud will take that. Evensen and Amundsen side by side. Knaif and Gratz got themselves into a spot of bother, but that looked a very dominant and accomplished performance from Chapaz.
Yeah, he looks strong today. And he tactically played that really well. You know, he just kept himself mid-pack up the climb. Great draft effect, but then finish it off with the commanding final stretch.
So, no drama in the second of the semi-finals. Jules Chapaz leading the way, and Kollerud in his first World Cup start is into the final of the sprint. That's remarkable for the young Norwegian. Speaking of finals, we're moments away from the women's final. Let's confirm the semi-final results for the second semi. Chapaz ahead of Kollerud. Amundsen and Evensen are the lucky losers. Knaif and Gratz miss out. The Grand Touche, Chapaz, Kollerud, Amundsen and Evensen. 3 from Norway against 1 from Sweden, 1 from Czechia, and 1 from France in the final.
And we'd have to dig back through some results to find a Drammen sprint that was not won by a Norwegian.
Oh, yes.
I think Richard Jouve won in 2022. And actually, Wang Zhang from China was second, Shanava third. So that was the last time we remember the Norwegians not being absolutely dominant. Outside of that, you've generally had finals made of almost entirely Norwegians.
If you are just tuning in, there is no Johannes Husflot Klæbo in the final. A fall. He and Ben Ogden, mean the gold and silver medalists from Milano Cortina, are not in the final. It's one of those things that happen, though. It doesn't diminish their greatness. They have showed remarkable consistency, resilience, attitude as well. And we will focus on the athletes who have advanced to the final. In the women's, it's going to be very tough for Norway to be upstaged, you feel? And Sweden want to reassert their dominance. They'll have to do it without the Olympic champion Linn Svan. Johanna Hagström and Jonna Sundling carry the hopes. Maja Dahlqvist, the overall sprint leader, is not in the final. Quick reflection and what you're looking forward to in this sprint final for women, Kicken.
Well, I feel like we were treated to a dress rehearsal in that women's first semifinal when you saw Skistad and Sundling go head-to-head on that final 100 meters, and Skistad still had the edge. But of course, we saw at the top of the course it being very tactical. No one in that first semifinal wanted to lead. And then in the second semifinal, you saw Hagström and Stenseth lead, but then they were passed up by Fendrich and Gimler. So I think we're going to see a very tactical race here, and we'll know kind of in the first, at the top of this climb, whether or not it's going to be a kind of all out from the gun, try to string it out, or whether they kind of wait and battle it out on that final 100 meters.
Well, it'll be decided in under 3 minutes of actual racing. There are flags for Sweden waving, but they are not in any way the vast number that belongs to Norway. On home snow, it is Skistad and indeed Stenseth who will be supported. Gimler of Germany and Fandrich of Switzerland, not to be underestimated. Fandrich has improved with her advancing years, now beyond 30.
Fendrich, of course, has announced her retirement this year, so this will be her last time racing in Drammen.
Stenseth of Norway will go as one of 2 Norwegians in this final. One of 2 Swedish skiers in the final, Johanna Hagström, with both Svan and Dahlqvist, the Olympic gold and bronze medalists in the sprint classic. Not in this race. The silver medalist, though, Jonna Sundling, is alongside Hagström, her compatriot. And she will take on Kristin Stavros Skistad. Skistad just losing out on the gold to Sundling at the last World Championships on Norwegian snow in Trondheim last year. Nadine Fandrich, while she didn't have the best of times in Milano Cortina, she finished with a silver medal in the team sprint. She's impossible to ignore in a final. So too Laura Gimler. A little hush before the start. Effectively a little over 2.5 minutes now to decide the champion in Drammen. Will it be Skistad of Norway? Will it be a Swedish success again? Skistad, Sundling, Fandrich, Gimler, Hagström and Stenseth get away. And it's anybody's guess now, but certainly the focus will be on Sundling and Skistad as they look to resume their rivalry here and now. And it's going to be in front of Skistad's home fans in Drammen.
We used to see Jonna Sundling just so confident in her fitness go out and just try to ski away from everyone else in the field. But the athlete who was the biggest bug in her ointment on that one was Skistad, because if Skistad is also fit, she can follow, and she just has to keep herself close. She moves in. So I think Sundling has taken that to heart now, and she knows that's not the right strategy to try and defeat this woman from Norway.
Sundling has got the most individual wins on the circuit so far this year, 4 wins. She'll be looking to make that 5 here. Skistad, though, wants to claim victory again, as she did on her last visit to Drammen 2 years ago. Skistad and Gimler, who's alongside her in the early stages of this race. We're coming up towards effectively the halfway mark. A slight slip, it seems, from Sundling. Hagström alongside her. Sundling's aggression, though, in the finish is never to be underestimated. Gimler taking that wider route around the outside, not losing anything. In fact, takes the lead now.
Skistad never leads into a downhill. She always finds a way to bait somebody else to take that lead, and Gimler took the bait. And she said now has the advantage of just getting right in the slipstream.
Now, Fandrich has a fast finish, but has she left it a little too late? Look at the three-prong in front of her, with Skistad leading the Swedish competitors. Hagström and Sundling. Gimler is being passed now by Skistad. Fandrich is coming back at them all and moves into third. She's gone beyond Gimler now. It's going to be a very tight race. Who's it going to be around this final bend? If this is negotiated, it's a free run to the line, but it's a slight uphill as well. Sundling and Skistad, as predicted. There's certainly no love lost between these two, as they did at the World Championships in Trondheim last year. It's a battle towards the line between these two for top spots. Sundling has it by half a meter from Skistad, who's not giving up. Fandrich currently looking to keep herself on the podium, will battle against Hagström for third, but it is Sundling surging, a masterclass in power and poise. Alongside her is Skistad, though. The marks of champions who are thriving when the stakes soar. These two sprinting to the line in a classic finish, in classic technique. It's going to be Sundling who takes it. A remarkable sprint finish from Sundling, her 5th of the season. Skistad finishes 2nd and Fandrich 3rd. Hagström just off the podium. Gimler and Stenset 5th and 6th. My word, we could not have asked for a better finish to the women's sprint.
That was textbook execution by Jonas Sundling. She showed poise, she showed patience, she waited to make her punch, and even when Skistad matched her pace right at the base of that final 50 meters, Sundling had another gear, and you saw her just break Skistad by the end there. That is the head-to-head action we have been waiting for, to see Sundling and Skistad go toe-to-toe to the line like that.
Well, you just got a sense that Skistad, when she was fighting back, was fueled by passion, pride, and that power of home support. But my word, a burst of brilliance from Sundling just denied Skistad a success on home snow. This was ultimate action in the Women's Sprint Classic final in Drammen. It is Sundling over Skistad in a sensational, sensational finish.
And look, you see Sundling right there just tracking Skistad. She knew exactly where she needed to put herself. So she just had to keep it close, save that energy for the end.
Sundling showed some speed on the descent. And once she navigated that final hairpin, the Swedish superstar then soared up the slope. It was silky, it was smooth, it was strong, and it was simply sensational at the finish.
Here's the difference right here. She just kept that pressure on as Skistad just started to let that head tip back a little bit. Sundling, that fuel, that fire has been burning for a while. Skistad so many times did the opposite, just lurked and came and took the race in the last 100 meters, and Sundling finally gets her revenge.
Team Skistad, there's the heartache. As it happened at the World Championships last year, it happens in Drammen. Sundling sensationally takes the win. Fantastic for Fandrich as well on the podium. Brilliant finish from Fandrich, earned her way past Hagström, Gimler and Stenset to finish 3rd overall. But Sundling snatches it in another Swedish success, and she is sovereign of the sprint in Drammen.
Yeah, I think with that 3rd of Fenrich and 4th for Hagström, they are now, I think, dead even in the sprint standings. There was only 5 points between them going into today, and it's a 5-point difference in your overall points for the result of today. So they're going to go into the final sprint, fighting it out for 2nd and 3rd, and we'll have to see how many points they've pulled back on Dahlqvist.
Yeah, there were 10 genuine contenders through 9 of the 11 sprint races in the women's overall sprint Crystal Globe. At the likes of Jonsu, Ilar, Ridzek missing out today. Certainly, Jonas Sundling has done herself a massive favour by claiming this victory. Fandrich as well. A podium place again for the Swiss star before she steps away.
when you have big results like that on the season you've announced as your last, I'm sure it's a mix of emotions of kind of going, am I really ready to step away? Things are still firing really well, but of course it's a lot of work day in and day out to prepare for these World Cup seasons, and she's been at it for a while, so she'll get to leave with some happy memories.
Somebody who won't leave with happy memories is she's notoriously quiet as well. She's very elusive in the media, very little known about the Norwegian star who made her Olympic Winter Games debut just last month in Milano Cortina. She's winner in Drammen last time out, is on the podium again, but it's with silver behind Sundling of Sweden. Sundling, she's supreme in the sprints. You think back before the Olympic final where she lost out to Linn Svan. You have to go back to 2019 to the last time she actually lost a major sprint, and that was on a World Championship debut. Let's hear from the champion.
Jonas, it is usually very tight here in Drammen, but today it was extremely tight. Tell us about the fight with Kristine.
Oh, it was till the last meter, and I was like, okay, I need to continue all the way over the finish line, and it was tough, but I'm happy that I was the first person over the line.
How was it then fighting with a Norwegian girl from Drammen here in Drammen?
The positive thing is that it's a really good atmosphere here, and the audience is good. It's a really nice event.
Congratulations, Jonna.
Thank you.
Sundling, always a consummate professional there. I think she knew what the mission was today, and she spoke to it there. Have to get all the way across the finish line. Can't let a meter go by, even a stride, because that was a total battle all the way up into the line. And I think it, in some ways, coming in as the hometown favorite comes with a little extra pressure, and Skistad has handled that well, but probably a little bit of a sting to not deliver on that win here in front of her home crowd.
It's going to be a great sting as well for Norway if they don't manage to claim victory here. Klæbo has not advanced from the semi-final after a fall. He and Ogden, two surprise competitors, not advancing to the final as a result of a fall in the first of the semi-finals. Ansgar Evensen, 25-year-old. He'll finish top 6 in Drammen after being top 8 last time around. Harald Osberg Amundsen, the overall World Cup winner in 2024, although he was ranked 11th in the Drammen sprint. Anton Gran of Sweden, 21-year-old with great ambition, wonderful technique and brilliant attributes to become world-class. Jules Chappaz of France, a man who's rediscovered his form and is loving life, hoping to crown that with victory here. Christian Kollerud, this is his first World Cup start, and he's made the final. The youngster. And Jiří Tuš of Czechia. He made the final in Milano Cortina. That will have buoyed his confidence tremendously. But the number of under-23 athletes in this final is quite startling.
It's almost getting dark.
They're getting away very, very nicely. There's Christian Kollerud. Look at that reaction time, 0.25 of a second. Kollerud got away really well. Watch out for Jules Chappaz. He'll have among the stronger finishes, you suspect. How is Jiří Tuš going to race this, though? Unlike some of the other competitors around him, he doesn't have the experience or doesn't have the maturity and race experience to bring to a final. But he looks to go out hard in the early stages, perhaps believing that he can carry it all the way.
Well, he may have watched, I mean, he was right in the middle of that heat where the major crash happened. So despite the fact of not having a ton of experience, he might know he doesn't want to leave it to a tightly bunched pack like that. And oftentimes when you see a very tactical course like this, if an athlete is brave enough to really go hard and break it open, you know, sometimes that strategy can work.
Well, we've got the likes of Khan and Turj, still 21 years old. Two relative youngsters, Kollerud as well, under 23. Half the field is under 23, and those three are the ones that sit in the front currently. The experienced campaigners, the likes of Amundsen, Evensen, and Schappaz, sitting at the back as things stand. They're hoping that their tactical prowess and mastery will come to the fore in the closing stages of this race. Now we'll start to see a little more pace building up, and the lead might change hands as well. Schappaz showing speed, not as quick as we've seen down here, but the fastest of this final. All grouped together now. It's slowed down a little, and that might prove problematic indeed. Gran goes down, that's his race done. The other five remain on their skis, however, and it means that Amundsen has used his experience and come out in front, but he's got speed alongside him. Kollerud is coming. Turj is not giving up, and Schappaz is going to find a way back in. Evensen is there as well. It's only Gran who's really out of the mix here. This is great from Kollerud. Could he pull off a remarkable win in his first ever World Cup start? The speed of Schappaz, though, on the inside line is looking to take it all the way towards the finish line. Schappaz charging. Amundsen and Evensen is going to take it. Evensen takes it. Turj, Kollerud, Amundsen, Schappaz, 5th overall, and Turj on the podium, disrupting that potential Norwegian domination. How about that from Evensen?
We almost weren't watching for him. We were paying attention to the battle between Amundsen and Kollerud, but Evensen just, you know, he's been in the final here before, back in 2023, where he finished 4th. So, you know, he has got some experience on this course. City sprints are such a different beast, and he just timed his energy outlay perfectly and really didn't even make it close. You know, and I'm guessing that Amundsen and Kollerud were focused on each other there and didn't see Evensen coming up the outside.
I think you might be right. Turj, I think, has just managed to pip Kollerud to 2nd. Oh, what a remarkable result for the 21-year-olds. Turj and Kollerud, both on the podium. Kollerud, could you ask for anything better in your first World Cup start?
And this one result, you know, can buoy these guys for several seasons, because when you're young like that, you can have these days where you really, you know, have a high point, but then it takes a while of spending time on the World Cup and learning how to go in and out. So, you know, I think for Kollerud in particular, this is really important, because there is a class of Norwegian sprinters in his age group right now. You know, Lars Hagen sitting in 2nd in the overall has been taking a lot of the attention. Vike as well, who's out with an injury. So this class of Norwegian men, you know, this gets him on the radar.
Absolutely. Norwegian skiers now have won 12 of the last 12 individual World Cup races. Klæbo had won the last 6 coming into this. That crash means he's out. Kollerud is celebrating this podium place, as you would do on debut. And Jiří Turj with his best career results. Ansgar Evensen, don't look at the time, just look at the positions. Jiří Turj, though, upsetting that Norwegian domination as they finish 1st, 3rd, and 4th on home snow. Wow. What a final.
Well, we talked about the start of this race when Turj took the lead of just that was his best card to play, because by stringing it out, you know, he left himself towards the front of the pack. Even though he got eclipsed off this draft, he gave himself a good lane to come through and just narrowly avoided the crash there. That was some great work on his feet, but just switched to the stride a little earlier than anyone else, and I think that allows you to carry the momentum, and he really just nips Kollerud right at the line.
This is sensational when you consider that Gran fell directly in front of him. He was forced wide. He nearly clipped the advertising hoardings himself, did the eventual champion. Ansgar Evensen. Fantastic disappointing result, but Kollerud is celebrating this third place finish.
I'm sure coming into today, he was just excited to be on the roster. Probably didn't imagine being on the podium as well. And of course, he's racing in his club suit. So that gets some great attention for the team of people it takes to get you to the start line as well.
Oh, he gets his moment with the microphone as well. Now what to say?
Gonna do some singing. You can see, looking at the snow there, it's got a glaze to it. That's likely caused by the wind. So some challenging conditions today, but fast. We've seen times in this men's race be a bit slower than we had today. So it was good fast tracks, and of course a little icy out there as we saw in some of those turns. City sprinting is such a unique thing, and one of the treats of the day is getting to ski this final 100 meters in front of the crowd.
And there's much excitement in Norway currently, given the Holmenkollen coming up in 2 days' time, 50 kilometers. Oh, Evensen and Tuj side by side. They finished 1 and 2. Evensen with a remarkable sprint finish. Chapaz was finishing strong. Tuj was coming back at Kollerud, who'd looked to have made his way into silver medal position. Evensen, nobody saw him on the inside.
I want to go back and watch some of those replays again and see where Evensen really made his move, because he was not a factor in the race at all until that last 50 meters.
Well, he was 6th coming around that corner, and with Anton Gran having fallen directly in front of him, he dropped even further back. So that sort of exemplifies how he finished this race. It was utterly remarkable. We spoke about a burst of brilliance in the women's final, but it was from a second place position trying to find first, and a battle between the two at the front who'd broken away. Evensen came from the very back, past a fallen skier, to slingshot his way almost to the front.
If I'm a coach watching how the races unfolded today, so many great nuggets to pull out to teach your athletes. You know, number one, qualifying is all you have to do. Look, there's some high bib numbers that got into that final there. You know, how you play the downhill. If you decide to be more tactical, that means potentially more trouble. But you can come from 6th place in a final. You can go head to head and win the race in the final few meters. So many great storylines today.
And for Kollerud and Tuj in particular, best ever finishes. That will be something that both will hold dear for a long time. Both 21 years old. Evensen a little more experienced. And let's hear from the champion from Norway.
Ansgar Evensen, you are the winner here in Drammen. How was the atmosphere?
It was super cool, and I love to ski in Drammen. So when I had the chance to take the first place, I just went for it in the finish. It was cool. Yeah.
Take us through the final.
Yeah, I was felt like I had a good position up the first hill, but then didn't go. I wish I had been a little bit better position, but then when Anton fell in the last corner, I had every opportunity, and so I took it from 5th place then to 1st on the final.
And Anton fell in the final. Johannes fell in the semi. Quite a dramatic sprint. How did you feel it?
I had to change boots to my combi boots because I felt so unbalanced in the quarterfinal, but. That's how it is. You have to stay on your feet to win, and unfortunately for Johannes, Ben wasn't as stable today, so yeah, hope he's okay.
Congratulations, Ansgar.
Thank you.
It's not often you see did not finish in the results for the day, so we got Johannes Klæbo and Ben Ogden not actually finishing that semifinal.
So here's the Sprint World Cup standings. Dahlqvist holds on, but Hagström, Fandrich and Sundling have made up ground. Very tight at the top.
I forgot in my calculations that they actually award bonus points for the qualification time as well as the final place on the day. So that's what's narrowed for Hagström, now within 12 points of Dahlqvist. That means anything can happen in the final sprint of the season. And of course, a transatlantic travel coming up after this weekend's races in Holmenkollen.
This is what we looked forward to. Sundling against Skistad in Norway. It did not disappoint. Sundling, though, with a sweeping success in the end, her 5th individual win of this season. She's back to her very best sprint pedigree. Overall World Cup, Jessie Diggins is still well clear of Moa Ilar. Maja Dahlqvist, some 570 points back currently. Sundling, though, making sure there are 3 Swedish competitors inside the top 4. Simpson Larsson not competing today. She'll be going in the 50 kilometer in 2 days. Well, the racing action is done, but not all the action is done in Drammen. We have a few matters to deal with still, some of the formalities that the athletes really enjoy. And this is where we missed the chance to see Ben Ogden potentially doing a somersault off the podium. And there are many who will genuinely appreciate the chance of receiving their medals today.
And their cheese. Yeah, the city sprints are a very special spectacle, really, for the World Cup. They've been going on for many years, but Drammen really is the only one left. You know, that we, in the 2012 season, I think there were 5 city sprints on the calendar. It used to be in Dusseldorf, Germany. They did one in Milan, Moscow, of course, Stockholm on the steps of the Royal Palace for many years. There was some in Prague. So Drammen, you know, has continued to do it. Producing these city sprints is no easy feat because they have to truck in all the snow, lay it down, set up all the infrastructure you see there of all the media and the waxing and everything. But it's really cool to be able to bring the sport to the people. And, you know, here in Norway, they always have such a great atmosphere. And I'm sure these athletes are happy to still have at least one chance to do this kind of sprint in front of a crowd.
Sundling with a few words. Kind words, it seemed. Very genial conversation.
Welcome to the podium ceremony for the Coop FIS Cross-Country World Cup Sprint Women. Velkommen til premieseremoni for
Coop FIS Cross-Country World Cup victory ceremony.
In 3rd place, på 3. plass, from Switzerland, fra Schweiz, Nadine Fendrich.
What a finish for Fendrich today. Genuine speed in the closing stages on the podium with bronze.
2nd place, på 2. plass, from Norway, fra Norge, Kristine Stavås-Skistad.
Kristine Stavås-Skistad takes 2nd. In front of her home fans. Skier from Drammen.
From Sweden, fra Sverige, Jonas Sundling.
From Sweden, Jonas Sundling, champion again in the sprint. 5 individual podiums.
Sweden, fra Sverige, Jonas Hagström. In 5th place, på 5. plats, from Germany, fra Tyskland,
Jonas Hagström was 4th overall, whereas bib number 4. Number 9 is Laura Gimler. And Anna Appelvik Stenset, 6th overall, having made the final, some 5.5 seconds back. Sundling, the eventual champion. So how do you reflect on this race? Kicken, given that you've had a few minutes now to process what was just so raw when we watched it live?
Well, just thinking of the trajectories of these two top skiers, Skistad and Sundling, you know, both racers that don't necessarily race every single race all season. Sundling, you know, undisputedly delivers at the championships. Her streak of wins between World Championships and Olympics, only, you know, losing to Svan in this most recent Olympics, but still a silver medal. I mean, just the gold standard of the field. But the one athlete who's been able to, again, kind of be break up that streak every now and again is Skistad, and the way that she skis. And today that set us up for just a really epic battle, and it was great to see it come down all the way to the line, but Sundling just showing that poise and power. She just had that little extra tempo at the end, and I mean, I think that's going to feel extra satisfying for her.
Sundling champion ahead of Skistad van Dijk third.
Fenrich, that's I mean, again, winding down her career, just one final sprint left in Lake Placid next week. So this has got to feel really good and keeps her in the fight for the overall. She's, you know, finished in the top 3 of the sprint overall many times and just narrowly lost winning that Sprint Globe a couple seasons ago to Maya Dahlqvist. So to keep that hope alive in her final season is very, very exciting for her.
Last next stand in the Sprint World Cup overall, Klæbo ahead of Hagen. Chappaz third overall now. It's men's final. Missing Klæbo after the fall contact between a few skiers that saw Ogden and Klæbo both miss out on a chance to progress to the final. But taking their opportunities around them were some young skiers, including Kollerud in his first World Cup start on the podium in third. The man who narrowly avoided colliding with Anton Gran, who fell in that final corner, the man who romped to victory. His first ever World Cup win. Ansgar Evensen of Norway claims that victory on home snow in Drammen. 5th podium, but first win.
Yeah, started off the season with a 3rd place in Ruka, so he's kind of bookending the season here with big results.
We'll be hoping for a little more success transatlantic as well. Overall World Cup has already been wrapped up. It's secured. Klæbo ahead of Amundsen, Pellegrino in third. Chappaz rounding out the top dozen. Ben was a really good season so far, 13th overall. For the podium ceremony in the men's sprint classic of the Coop FIS Cross-Country World Cup. Action in Drammen.
Sprint men. Velkommen til premieseremoni for Coop FIS World Cup langrenn sprint menn. In 6th place, på 6. plass, from Sweden, fra Sverige, Anton Gran.
Anton Gran, all in the final, so he finished 6th.
Fra Frankrike, Jules Chappaz.
Jules Chappaz, currently top 3 overall, but finishes 5th in the sprint final here. He had a chance today, Harald Østberg Amundsen, but it was off the podium ultimately. He was undone by some genuine sharpness around him, and 2 of them are from under 23 stars. Third place for Christian Kollerud. First World Cup start, first World Cup podium. It's not that hard, he must be thinking. Jiří Tuš of Czechia on the podium in 2nd place. Best ever finish for the 21-year-old from Czechia. But securing the first of two positions for Norway on the podium. Ansgar Evensen with his first win in the World Cup circuit. And it's come on home snow in Drammen. How do you evaluate the men's final?
Well, I think this is a great example of you know, rubbing is racing, and you've got to make it, you got to stay on your feet, got to make it all the way to the final. A little luck can be involved, but when you get to the final, it's about, you know, executing, and Ansgar Evensen just was smart in the way that he kind of played it cool despite being at the back of the pack and saved it, and he was the only athlete to really double pole all the way through. But I think what has me most excited is to see these young guys get into the final and show that when they're in the hunt for the win, they mean business. I mean, for Tush to take the lead like he did at the beginning, I mean, that's very brave skiing. And this Collerud is a good new name that we see amongst a very strong group of young men on the Norwegian team. So I think this is a little glimpse of what we could see in the future. Klæbo talked last week in his interview about knowing this young surge of men coming up behind him is going to keep him on his toes. And yeah, we hope he is okay and recovers from the fall today, because he's got some good challengers coming up.
First time I remember seeing Klæbo fall, and it's also a rare opportunity for others to take advantage of the situation. Evensen champion, Tush second, and Kollerud third in Drammen. A delight to watch, two of those three on the podium being just 21 years old. And
Well, there was no shortage of drama today, that is for sure.
it was undoubtedly classic final in the sprint in Drammen. Keegan Randall, thank you so much for your time. Hope you've enjoyed the action as well. And that is where we leave it from Drammen today. Plenty of action still to come. Holmenkollen, and then across the Atlantic in Lake Placid.